It's my first look at the tight end position for week 8, and we're starting right now. What's up, guys? Welcome to another first look. Do me a favor and smash the like button before you forget. And if this is your first time here and you want to become a profitable DFS player and get better at betting, start now by subscribing to the channel, but make sure you hit that notification bell as well so you don't miss anything along the way. Going to be an interesting one for sure. Kind of before we started recording, we were talking about the Arizona flow chart for tight end. 32nd against the tight end this year. It's Jared Cook this week. Anyone going to click Jared Cook? We do this show live every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time on Twitch, twitch.tv/Joe Holka. If you're watching this on YouTube later, what you're looking at is the data sheet that I make available to all my Twitch subscribers in the Discord. So it's what I think matters at each and every position and kind of just brings it all together for you guys kind of in a nice orderly sheet where at this point, you can't see a lot of these numbers, and that means that it's not kind of on one side of the spectrum to the other. So I don't think you should really be worrying a ton about a team that is kind of middle of the pack as far as their pass rate or like a matchup that's middle of the pack. So I'm trying to block those out and not look at them in my analysis more than anything. So a team like the Chargers has been throwing more than any team in the league over the past 3 weeks. So 72.1% of their offensive plays have been pass plays, but they are in Chicago this week. I do think that Hunter Henry is at least interesting for something like yards per route run. You can still see a guy like Darren Waller at the top, George Kittle, Hunter Henry. Those are the type of kind of upside tight ends that you would typically want to target. But one of my favorite things to look at just for the tight end perspective is just routes run in general over the last 4 games. We know that it's super important for context when we're trying to avoid tight ends that end up blocking a decent amount. So right at the top, Austin Hooper, Gerald Everett leading the way in that category. 2 great matchups for them as well. Seattle and Cincinnati, both bottom 10 or so, roughly, below average teams against the tight end position. So I think at 4,300, super interesting for sure. Yeah, Everett's someone that we talked about last week as well, with a lot of people wanting to go to Goff, trying to get like the cheapest access to that you can for sure, is an interesting kind of way to go about it. Hooper at 5,500 seems like a decent price for him though. What did you guys end up doing? Well, at least we don't have the Waller versus Mark Andrews debate that I had on Sunday morning and just chose the wrong one. I think that is one that a lot of people were struggling with. If you chose Waller, congrats. If you chose Andrews, you're wishing you chose Waller, obviously, for like the same price. But we'll see what happens with Tyrell Williams. But I do think that Darren Waller is kind of the number one option in this offense for sure. Tough matchup against Houston, but he's still someone that can definitely power through that, in my opinion. He's always kind of not popping as far as team total, as like a team that wants to run, ideally, a team that is not running at the fastest pace by any means, but this guy's target share is elite, and sometimes that's all that matters. So we know that volume is always more important than matchup from a fantasy perspective. So if you end up getting super low ownership at Waller 5,900, I definitely don't hate the idea of that. Someone in the chat, Team Carson Andrews last week. I was right there with you, man. Right there with you. So talk about a guy that I played earlier this year and got the floor game, Zach Ertz, 5,100. That seems like a decent price as well if we just want to totally ignore that Buffalo's been pretty good against tight ends this year. I don't mind that usage for sure out of him. Let's see if there's any cheap guys that are kind of running a ton of routes. Greg Olson at 3,700 against San Fran. Number 1 team against tight ends. The San Francisco defense is just the real deal. So that one would scare me from a floor perspective, but at least he's running routes, 3,700. It's a pretty mega punt there. At that point, I would certainly just prefer to get up to Gerald Everett. What's Evan Engram at right now? With a lot of people just kind of, the people that played him against Arizona last week are probably really not happy with that performance. 5,300 for Evan Engram, top 4 in weighted opportunity rating, probably about top 6 or so, top 5 in routes run over the last 4 games. I mean, yeah, we know he had that injury as well. So yeah, I think that Evan Engram back in play, especially in this matchup against Detroit, at 5,300. This is like the prime spot, I think, probably to go back to a guy like this if you were on that train last week. The Giants are a team that does throw the ball a ton. So yeah, I could get on board with some Evan Engram for sure. Not tight end news, but carry on to the IR. Wow, there we go. I guess we should move back and talk about Ty Johnson. Now, we'll get to that on Sunday. If anyone's watching this on YouTube later, we do stream before kickoff on Sundays, 11:30 Eastern time. So make sure you jump back over that. We'll sift through a lot of this news and break down the slate with a little bit more context. This is being recorded on a Tuesday. So So let's talk about Jared Cook. 4K. Is he in play at that price? I think he's in play. Arizona, like we mentioned, the matchup stands for itself. I do think that if we want to target a guy that's running a ton of routes, Jared Cook, he's borderline for sure. He's not running deeper routes. His kind of target share is not great. But if you're kind of on the side that you think Patrick Peterson's going to lock down someone like Michael Thomas, I could see Jared Cook being a guy that you could at least consider. I don't know if I love it. I think if you're just chasing the matchups at that point, I don't know if you're chasing a ton of ceiling there. Hugginson, TJ Hugginson, he's at 3,500. I don't hate that. Let's take a look at that one. 3,500 against the Giants. Again, kind of what led me there too was just the team total there. The target share is not great. I'll admit that, but the kind of the routes are right there with kind of Jared Cook. So at that point, I think I'd rather just get the savings with someone like Hugginson. Giants have been pretty good against the tight end, but I think that's an interesting one. Noah Fant, tough spot, I guess, going to the Denver passing game in general, probably. But with that low team total, that would be a tougher one for me. But still running routes, 2,900. Great price for him. What else we got here? Any Dallas Goedert love? 2,800. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that the more I kind of look, and that's probably just the pivot if Ertz ends up getting popular, which I'm not sure if he'll be super popular, but Goddard's always kind of the pivot off of Ertz, I feel like, if you wanted to save a little bit of salary. Let's see. I guess I've kind of been skipping over George Kittle. Carolina's a team that can be beat as far as the tight end position, the weighted opportunity rating, all of that is there. It's just this number that just I really struggle with for San Francisco. They just want to run the ball, right? Their defense is elite. So where's the game script going to be? That's always tough to kind of swallow that $6,500 price tag on him. Someone asking about Ebron. Let's take a look at Ebron. 3,400. Denver, at least they're at home. Not running a ton of routes, man. The ones he is running, at least they're kind of higher value ones. Top 6 in yards per route run. I'd say it's pretty thin, to be honest. 49ers going to have to throw after C-Mac's first 3 TDs. Fair. Very fair. I guess we kind of skipped over Austin Hooper, but I guess it kind of goes without saying. Guess the usage there is pretty elite. So 5,500. I think he's probably one of my favorite options, like right along with Evan Engram in this spot against Seattle. Can't really skip over the leader in routes run over the last 4 by a significant margin. So I think that Austin Hooper is a guy that probably got the highest ceiling on the slate, maybe behind someone like Kittle and Waller if they kind of hit their ceiling in a tougher spot. I do think that Hooper's squarely back in play for sure. If you want to learn more about how to become a profitable daily fantasy sports player and better, start now by hitting the subscribe icon in the bottom right-hand corner so you don't miss anything. Be on the lookout for all of my DFS content throughout the week as we dive even deeper into Week 8. And be sure and join the contest that I have running on LinkedIn. If you want a little bit more information on that, check out my Twitter at Joe Holka. But I will be giving a free entry into the Week 9 $100 spy on DraftKings, so make sure you take advantage of that. And I'll see you guys next time.